Okay. First, I want to say that Jackson and I didn't get together and write this together, but he kind of stole a lot of my thunder with what he just talked about, because a lot of that's in what I'm going to talk about tonight. But good evening, everybody. Let me get this pulled up. So, thanks, Bob. So my name is Dillon, and I have a new life in Christ. Like you all, the first night when I got here, I was given that sheet to circle all the things that I thought I was dealing with in life, and I was kind of looking through it and just thinking, well, I just need to find alcohol on that list. And then I started looking through it, and I started circling and circling and circling. It would have been just quicker to circle the ones that I wasn't dealing with. But I noticed that as I went through Regen, there was a lot of stuff that I didn't recognize that I was going through in my life. But it came down to no self-esteem, anxiety, self-protection, and selfishness. Those lifelong struggles led me into an addiction to alcohol that started when I was young, and I was still living at home. I had the type of family life that a lot of us had, a really not present father, a lot of alcohol abuse on both sides of my family, and divorces. I was a shy, quiet kid with very few social skills, and I didn't make friends easy and had very low self-esteem. And I didn't fit in with the kids in my school and really just kept to myself. So I started drinking during high school as I recognized that alcohol made me the fun person that I thought that I was, and I found it helped me make friends and be more open with people. Right out of school, I started a career where I made pretty good money, and I had a lot of time off. I moved into a house with a couple of friends from school, and our weeks and weekends consisted of partying and drinking. So fast forward quite a few years, and I was married and a father. I had settled down some, and that we didn't go out to bars, but my drinking at home was a daily thing. I told my wife, Lindsay, that I needed to quit, and I tried, but started hearing and believing the lie that held on to me for many years, that I needed the alcohol and that I couldn't stop. I started hiding it out of shame and the fact that I said I wanted to quit, but I couldn't and I didn't really want to. So after Lindsay found alcohol a couple times, she had had enough of being lied to, and she left me. So that's another story, but after about 3 months, we reconciled, and I stayed sober for quite a few years until one night we were on vacation with the family. The girls were at the water park, and I ran up to the room to get something and walked past the hotel bar and listened to another lie, and that was that I could have just one and be fine. So that started a years-long downward spiral, and I started drinking again. I convinced Lindsay that it would just be social drinking and that I could handle it. And being the trusting person she is, and the fact that she doesn't like confrontation, she went right along with it. That social drinking turned into now having alcohol brought into the home, and I promised her it was all fine, it would be okay, and again, she went along with it. In reality, I know now that I was a master manipulator, and I knew she wouldn't say no. That turned into having drinks while we were at home, along with the ones I was having that I had hidden throughout the house. Before I knew it, I was drinking heavily again and was right back in that spot of believing that that's just who I was and I needed it to be the person that people liked. I was a physical and mental mess. I felt horrible every day, waking up hungover and sometimes still drunk. I'd get the girls to school and go get alcohol for the day. My life would revolve around the drinking, and I'd start early from the afternoon into the evening, then go to bed and start over the next day. So getting alcohol, sneaking around the house in the evenings while my family was home, then figuring out how to get rid of those bottles and cans the next day, it consumed me. I carried so much stress just going through all that drinking wasn't even fun anymore. I kept telling myself I wouldn't drink tomorrow, but when I would wake up feeling horrible, I knew what would make me feel temporarily better So I lied to myself that I would just have one, and then I'd head off to the store and buy 4, 5, 6 more cans of alcohol. My body was physically dependent on it. My mind told me I had to have it because it made me that person I always wanted to be, but I wasn't fun. I was miserable, which bled over into our marriage and our family. I was edgy. When I would get home, the girls would just scatter because they didn't want to be around me. When we had family stuff to be at, my mind would race on how I was going to drink around that. And I missed out on, or left early from a lot of family gatherings. And when I couldn't drink, my thought process was so horrible. In my mind, I would think that that night was a waste if I couldn't drink and get drunk. Every morning I had to try to remember what happened the night before. I had to remember what disagreement Lindsay and I got into because of the way I was acting and what I was doing. And that anxiety would lead me down the road thinking that if I just have a drink, I know that'll make me feel better, and that anxiety would go away. I think all along Lindsay knew I was drinking. I was good at hiding it, but the girls would make comments to her about how I was acting at times. She caught me a couple times as I was drinking in the house, and she was finally tired of the lying and the hiding. I don't know that she was at the point of leaving for good, but she had to be close and on the edge. She had come back to the marriage once and was now in the same miserable position again. We were lucky because we got into a great counselor that walked us through the tough time of the lies and other situations that happened while I was drinking. We were working through things, and I was taking all the steps, but still hadn't stopped drinking. And then she caught me again. I was hesitant, but I started coming here to Regen. We put other things in place to make it almost impossible for me to get alcohol. I quit carrying my debit card, and I didn't carry cash. Lindsay had full access to our online bank account, so some way I could spend money. She could see that and where it was going to. I went on medication that would make me sick if I had even a small amount of alcohol. We have an app on our phone, and it would show everywhere that I was going. The biggest step was, I showed her my hiding places at home. That was kind of one of the last steps that I finally was like, I'm going to show everywhere. I was hiding stuff. The biggest step was we bought a breathalyzer, and I would do it every night or when she would ask me to. So I went along with all of it thinking either I could cheat the system somehow, or that she would give in or relax some of the rules soon, I could go back to drinking. When you're an addict and that addiction is taken away from you, your mind will find ways around the rules, and believe me, I was doing that. Inside, I was mad because I'm 50 years old. I would tell myself, I'm a 50-year-old man. I'm a man. I'm not some kid that needs these rules. I don't need these chains holding me down. But I wasn't a man. I was acting like a spoiled child. And I did need those chains, and I used to call them chains, but now looking back, I don't see them as chains. I see them as anchors. And those anchors made me feel freer than I've ever felt before. I finally gave it all to God, and I knew I had to because I'm too weak to just be able to shut it off like I did. So I stopped completely. Cold turkey, didn't have any physical or mental symptoms, haven't craved it one time. The thought of alcohol going into my body makes me sick. The smell of it makes my stomach turn. And I had 30 years of drinking, with the last few being very, very heavy alcohol use. And I couldn't have done that myself, just shutting it off. So if you are drinking like I was, I don't suggest that you stop without medical care. I was at the point where my body was totally dependent on alcohol, and I had to have it daily. Mentally, I would start panicking if there was anything that would keep me from having it. As much as I was taking in, I should have had the withdrawal symptoms, but I never did. And only a loving God can completely take that away from a person as addicted as I was. So being able to stop drinking was a massive change. It changed my mindset, and it's changed my self-esteem. No longer do I sneak into a room hoping to not get noticed or avoid social interactions like I used to. I no longer had that shame thinking that everyone was looking at me and knew I had either been drinking or that I was hungover. I also changed the victim mindset I carried for so long. I decided it was time to quit blaming, to take ownership in my decisions, quit blaming my childhood or mental trauma or other excuses I always came up with to validate my drinking. The biggest thing that being sober has changed is my marriage and my family. There are no more secrets between Lindsay and I. There's no more sneaking around and lying. Our marriage right now it's so incredible, and it feels so great to not be putting alcohol in front of anyone else, everyone else. Anyone that knows me knows how much I love my girls and how much they mean to me. They'll never fully understand how proud I am and what they become, especially after having a complete failure as a father for most of their young lives. My biggest fear was one of them becoming alcoholic like I am. And it's very painful to think about either one of my daughters being addicted to alcohol because of me. So now after seeing what alcohol did to me and our family, and know how dangerous it is, the girls detest it. And I pray that that stays with them forever. And they never make the mistake that I did, listening to the lies of evil. That will truly mean that the chains of alcoholism have been broken in our family. So I want to talk about this coin. I carried this around for a little while, and then when I was writing this, it kind of dawned on me that it really fits with this, and it's Ephesians 6:10 through 18 that we just talked about the armor of God. It's the belt of truth, no more lies and hiding. The breastplate of righteousness, protecting my heart to live a righteous life. Sandals of the gospel, to stand firm against attacks and spread the gospel of the Lord, to share with others what God has done in my life like I'm doing right now, which is very uncomfortable, I'll be honest. That includes being open in times like this, giving my testimony to show others what God can do for them like he's done for me. I ask that you please be open to others with your struggle, and also think about giving your testimony. It may be embarrassing to be up in front of people, but you never know who is out there that just needs to hear your words so that they know that they can experience God's gift of grace like you have. The shield of protection to stand firm in the face of temptation. The helmet of salvation to protect against the doubt and lies from Satan. The lies that I believed for so long that caused me to drink. The sword of the Spirit to protect against Satan's temptation to drink. I've not once been tempted to drink, even when I could have gotten away with it. So in closing, I want to thank everyone here at Regen, not only my group leaders, the guys in my group, friends that are still, in my life today from group, but also all the volunteers that put their time in, every Monday night to be here to help us. I also want to thank everyone that attends Regen, as you've humbled yourself to admit your addiction, which will allow you to help others. And I also thank God every day for bringing an angel into my life, and that's my wife, Lindsay, who has saved my life twice now. She could have and should have just left and dropped the dead weight that wasn't leading the family, but instead she had faith and trusted God. And if I could just reach one person, let them know that no matter how deep you think you are, you can break that addiction. And I just wish everyone struggling can just see how incredible life is when you say no more to that addiction. No more listening to the lies. No more making up excuses of why you have to fall back on your crutch. For everyone that is out there that is embarrassed or thinks it's showing weakness to ask for help, it's actually the opposite. Weakness is when you know you have a problem, but you won't admit it and you won't reach out for help. So you're here at Regen. Something or someone has brought you here. You may not want to be here, just like I wasn't ready when I started, but the work is worth it. When that thought enters your head to quit, and it will, please don't. Just know that it's not going to be easy for some. Satan loves when you are comfortable in your sin, and he will attack you when you are putting in the work to get out of it. But just know you have God right next to you through the difficult time. No matter how hard it gets, it's worth every difficult day. Thank you.